Bye.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Melissa Cardosi. I'm 25 years old and I came to Fort William to go to uni. I was part of the Adventure Performance and Coaching course, and now I am part of the Lochaber Trail Association, Fort William Foxes, and I'm aspiring to be a guide.
I'm Kate and I'm 19 years old and I go to university in Fort William. I'm new to biking, but throughout being at university, I've just come to love it.
My name's Gregor Muir. I am not 70 years old. I am in my 50s. I've been riding in Fort William for 25 years. Part of the West Highland Wheelers, been involved in the Kids Club in the West Highland Wheelers, and the current project is really the bike park, is developing the bike park in Fort William itself.
My name's Gregor Morrison. I'm 21 years old and I like biking in Fort William because I came here for uni, and I came a few trips when I was younger, so decided to move up here for uni, studying adventure education, and I like riding my bike here.
My favourite trail in Fort William has got to be at Glenloy Ericside. It's Brodie's. It was one of the first trails that truly challenged me and my abilities. I always thought it was a difficult one, really intimidating with the corners, and now I absolutely love it. And I was a big part of helping put towards the bottom section, bottom new corners. So that was one of my first times trying to get involved with the Lochaber Trail Association, and yeah, it's just ever since I've helped build that trail and I've ridden it, like the Brodie's itself it's just held a place in my heart, as well as just Glenloy in general. I've done a lot of work here, and I've put a lot of man hours in to help keep the area going, and removing trees and after all the windfall. But so if I had to pick one trail that I constantly would ride, it would definitely be Brodie's.
How does being immersed in the natural surroundings influence your well-being and mindset while mountain biking?
Being immersed in nature helps take my mind away from personal struggles and work life, and even just other aspects of mountain biking.
I think I take riding for granted. And I remember I got an op in my leg a long time ago now, a good few years ago, and I couldn't ride for many months. And I remember the feeling of euphoria, and I rode along the canal bank, and I remember the joy of being able to get back on my bike and be able to ride my bike again, that sense of freedom, and that just getting out and just enjoying the sight, and it was nothing, it was just a ride along the canal. But just that sense of being able to go out on your Todd, on your own, and just enjoy the surrounding area. This area is Glenloy, which has been part of the local mountain biking scene for a long time, probably over 20 years actually been riding in this area. And it's actually probably way back, there's one trail, it used to be called Nordic, that has seen 3 generations of change in it. And you can see from behind me now, it's all gone, that's it. And this was all forested, and the trail used to come from away up there, and it used to come round and hairpin back and sweep right across the hill here And it was the most beautiful trail in the world. And it was through deep forest, mature pine, because it was part of the forestry plantation. And it was a really lovely track. And when it was cut down, it was really quite sad. It was a sad day because it was such a classic trail in the area that it was pretty devastating. And so what ended up happening at that point was the second generation of trail took place, and the second generation of trail was probably not as good as the last one, but it was good. It was all right. You know, it was a nice ride. It was really good. It was fun, and it was a pretty awesome track. And then, yet again, we lost the trees, and this is what we've got left. And it's quite sad, but I think on the backside of that, what happens is that, you know, mountain biking is such a good sport and such a continuous sport that whatever happens, when we lose trails, we can resurrect new ones and let the trails evolve and become better.
How has your connection with this place and trail developed the more you bike here and the more you've improved?
I think just getting to know the trail and keep riding it and stuff. With the XC race I did, you had to do the loop 3 or 4 times, I think it was. So even just doing that, I just got more and more confident every time, getting faster and faster. And every time I come here, I like to warm up on this trail as I'm so used to it now and I enjoy it so much.
How do you feel the trails have impacted your sense of adventure and exploration within the local area?
As well as this trail, like there's loads of other trails around Nevis Range which I enjoy doing. I think it's one of the places that I came on my own when I first started biking, as it's all like it's well mapped out and it was easy for me to find things. It was just coming from a non-biking background, I found that going to a place where the trails were marked out easy was a good way for me to adventure around the local area and get to know biking and know myself and keep pushing myself further and further using different trails. And with the different colours of trails, it made me realise I can go further in my biking.
A lot of the time when you're riding your bike, you just see something off the side of a trail and just kind of go, yeah, we'll try it, go for it, see where you end up, and then end up usually finding out where you are and going back. So I suppose that's a bit adventurous.
What aspects of nature or the environment do you find most captivating or inspiring?
I think just when you're sitting in nature and stuff, it influences how you feel mentally. Like you could be sat for a day riding your bikes and you'll be enjoying it for the bike riding, but you're also self-consciously enjoying being out in the outdoors and just being there.
I think I just enjoy hearing the sounds of riding. Like, I get into a motion where I can hear the pedals going and the ground beneath me just going and spinning. And it just gets me into a flow where I just want to keep riding.
In what ways does mountain biking on these trails allow you to connect with nature that other activities might not provide?
I think the different varieties in the landscapes in which you're riding, from Top Chief to Blue Adder to Wild Goat, they're all very different trails in their environment around them. Hearing the water, the trees, the birds, everything like that, it's all different in all the different areas with the surroundings you're around.
I feel like mountain biking, you get a sense of a nice culture, but you feel like you are in the middle of nowhere. You don't typically go out on a bike ride and see loads of people. I'm not a people person, a massive people person, so I like to be able to come out on my own and ride a trail, and you might meet a dog walker, but you're not gonna go out and it's not like being in the middle of the high street and meeting a ton of tourists. It's a sense of belonging, and you get a sense of nature without having to travel too far from home. And in a safe area as well. You don't have to feel like have to hike up Kilimanjaro to get a sense of adventure, like just going out, climbing some fire roads or climbing some single track and like just take myself down some hard nadgy trails, and it gives me this sense of purpose and yeah.
You know, for your own mental health and your own mental well-being, it's quite good just to escape what you're doing. And, you know, I'll bike, I'll ski, you know, just getting out into the outdoors and into the countryside. That's why we're all here. That's why we're in Fort William and not in the middle of Glasgow, you know. And it makes you really aware, and, you know, you realise just how fortunate we all are. You know, finished work an hour ago and jump my bike, I'm up here in the middle of nowhere within an hour of leaving work. And you can't do that in town, you can't do that in town, and it's a joy to do that. And as I say, I think we take it for granted. We start, you know, I've been doing it for so long that you take it for granted until you realise just how fortunate we all are living where we do.
Has there ever been a moment where you felt a deep emotional connection to the surroundings?
Yeah, I think it's like, for example, up here on the World Cup track, it's like almost surreal because for years was watching like the World Cups and stuff here, and then it progressed into me riding that track and being able to ride it all season long if I really wanted to. It's just like, it's almost weird being in that situation because you've like seen it for ages and then you're there and it's like, that'll be like influencing your mind being like, whoa, this is mental.
How does the influence of weather shape your mountain biking adventures? And does it influence your connection with place?
I had a laugh at this question. It depends whether to put one Gore-Tex on or two Gore-Tex. That's really all it does. I will go out pretty much in anything. and I'll quite happily go out and pretty much anything. And I always say, you never regret going out on your bike. And I can probably count on one hand. I'm just watching the bird behind you here. You never regret going out on your bike. I can count on one hand the number of times that I've probably regretted going out on my bike. So it really doesn't matter how bad it is. You stand in the shower and your toes are defrosting. It usually takes a few seconds for the toes to realise they're alive. But, you know, it's a one Gore-Tex day or a two Gore-Tex day, depending.
The weather was never a problem. Not for like going to ride the easier trails. They were always open. Like I'd go out and ride in all conditions, kind of rain, snow, sunshine. And then as I got better at biking, I realised I prefer riding in the wet conditions than the dry. It's just something that, I don't know, it's just more challenging. It's something I've always preferred. But since the beginning of, the end of last year, beginning of this year, with all the storms, I've now noticed that weather impacts the trails of Fort William massively. We've had so many trees down, and it's like, actually stopped me being able to get out on my bike. I've not been able to ride at all much this winter because there's so many trees down. It's been a really, really wet and cold winter, which made everything's frozen, and I've not been able to get out. The harsh winter it kind of made me fall out of love with biking. I had a moment when I play rugby, and I definitely fell into love, more into love with rugby than I did biking over the winter, because it's so wet and miserable that I didn't enjoy going out. The trails were fine, but the trails were getting ruined because of how wet it was, and it made me not want to ride them, so that the trails would be fine for future. I didn't want to be one of those people that rode the trails in the super wet conditions and then they were ruined in the future. So it's definitely has an impact on how I've been riding over the winter. I just want to stay warm and dry.
How do you think the trails contribute to a sense of local identity, for both you personally and for the broader community?
I think Fort William specifically has quite a standpoint of being really gnarly technical trails, and the local influence, I suppose, is has to kind of keep up that reputation. So the trails here, they're dug in a way that isn't made easy. It's not necessarily flowy stuff all the time. It's always pretty tough single track. I think that's just because of the locality of it, and that's just how it's always been here. I think it's how it will always be.
Obviously, Fort William's known to be one of the biggest mountain biking places in UK or Scotland. I think this is because the trails here seem to be, the naturals, are a lot harder, more technical than down in the borders or anywhere like that. So I think it's known to be, if you can ride this, you can ride anything.
I think Scottish cycling is different to anywhere else in the world. Because of the weather, because of the climate, the climate, I'm more about it getting warmer, but we can cycle all year round. It doesn't get knee deep snow, so you can always get out on your bike. It's an exception when there's a day that is bad enough that you can't ride. This area is unique that we can ride year round and ride pretty good quality trails. And yes, okay, they get wet and mucky in the winter and they get slightly less wet and mucky in the summer, but that's great. That's really good. And so Fort William is unique in its own right, because the riding here is different to the riding in Cairngorm or the riding in Tweed Valley, or even the riding in Glencoe. It's just different.
Looking back on your mountain biking journey on these trails, how would you summarise the essence of your connection with the place in a few words or a sentence?
Mountain biking in Fort William has given me the skills and the experience to take further into my future and will always hold a place in my heart.
Moving to Fort William was hard as I was no longer able to do rowing, but then I found biking and it made me find a new sense of belonging.
I think if we took it away, that would make a difference. And I think having a sense of almost being able to take it for granted that it's on your doorstep and that you can, when you're fed up or when you just want to get out and do something, you can jump your bike and go and enjoy this area.
I go out and ride my bike more frequently because I'm in Fort William, because of the place and because of how good the trails are.